Hello, guys.
What's up?
This is the big one. Manchester City are in a Champions League final. You may have noticed it's all everyone can think about at the moment, and this is the big build-up this week. I'll be totally honest. I've essentially stolen this idea from Mason over at 9320, when you got Andrew as well as Jordan, as well as Mooney from Blue Moon Podcast, and everyone else in one big kind of cinematic crossover. And I thought, Joe, why don't we just get everyone chatting as well on this channel as well? And we'll have all separate chats, and we'll really revel in it and milk it for as much as it possibly is worth, because it's a Champions League final. You get that once. I've been joined. This is, by the way, coming up clutch here. Debutantes on the week of Champions League finals. There's a lot of pressure here. But two debutants on my channel, Andrew Dettmer and John Ashley from the Maine Road Ramble. Guys, how you doing, man? It's good to actually meet properly, chat on video. And thank you. And how are you?
Go on, Andrew.
Good. I don't think I've fully come to terms with what will happen Saturday. I feel like each day it's going to get a little bit more real. And then Saturday, I'll probably be like fully nervous the way I normally am for big matches. But like right now, I'm still fully confident and not super worried about it. So,
yeah, I think the one disconnect being over this side of the Atlantic is that, and not in Manchester itself, is that you're just not around kind of the environment where it's kind of front and center, on every news broadcast and whatever. And so just having that lack of being kind of in there means that until the day itself, I don't get nervous. And then you get to the day itself, and then all the the TV pre stuff starts. And yeah, that's when it kind of, all the nerves just kind of cascade over you. So
yeah, no, to be honest, you're right. I mean, like, though I would say if there was ever going to be a year where it felt a little bit quiet, it probably is this year, because the very nature is it's a less social time to be living in right now. So I guess there's a lot less kind of like workplace kind of banter going on, all that kind of stuff. But firstly, I want to say, by the way, guys, if you haven't already, go and check out the Maine Road Ramble. It's a fantastic podcast. There's a link in the description, as always. Andrew, John, and many, many other people over there do wonderful work, representing expats like John, of course, and all the Yanks across the road. A wonderful podcast. Andrew, we'll get to you first, mate. So this is a very simple question, but it's simple in purpose. How big is this game for Manchester City Football Club?
it's not as big as the QPR match was, but I don't know. I mean, and then obviously like the 99 final, that's big, but there are probably very few matches that are as big as this one in terms of what it means for the club as kind of a project and a vision, because this really is if City wins this, the project and the plan that started in 2008, they've done it. They've gotten to where they wanted to be, and they are the club that City Football Group thought they could turn them into. But also, I think for so many of the players that we've come to love, whether it's Sergio Aguero, who has given his career to our club, or it's Pep Guardiola, who has not won a Champions League final since he left Barcelona. I mean, there's a lot of narrative and a lot of storylines around the match. And I think that even City fans, who we aren't always the biggest fans of the competition, it is hard not to realize how big this match is.
John, do you share that? I mean, it's interesting because I asked you that, Andrew, because you said it's bigger. QPR game was bigger. Some people now would view this as bigger. I don't personally agree with that, but some people would, and I'd understand that argument. And I saw someone as well in the comments live saying a little bit bigger than the 99 final. Andrew said that, Andrew Coate in the comments. What I would say to Andrew is that, well, if we don't win that game, we're stuck down there forever. Shake isn't by Manchester City. So that's why that probably was, I guess, big in terms of importance, and importance is a relative thing, isn't it? It depends on where you are, and it's all proportionate to the moment. But John, I mean, how big is this game for you?
I mean, it's a European Cup final. Like the stature, it's the biggest game in terms of stature that City have ever played in. But on the flip side, it does not in any way, shape, or form threaten the club's existence. So
there's that, I guess,
and like the Gillingham game did, like you said, we've seen other clubs who have previously been in the Premier League, and their existence is currently in doubt. You know, your Sunderland, your Portsmouths, they're down there and they're struggling. And so I'm trying to convince myself as well that like this is something that I should really try and enjoy. And I'm not. I know that's not going to happen, but I'm trying to convince myself that I should.
The absolute psychopaths that are out there that have said like, "Oh, all I want is Aguero to win this in the last minute," and I'm like, outside of it, if you guarantee me that we win, sure. But if I spend that whole match like absolutely terrified, that's not what I want.
Imagine the feeling. I was saying to someone the other day, I can't remember who it was. I think it was at the ground. I was saying the only thing that can top 93-20 for me is literally a last-minute Aguero winner, because that encompasses 93-20, doesn't it? It's part of the story then as well. So it's like, oh, he's done it again, which makes it like it brings back all those feelings once again. So it'd be painful, but it'd be worth it, is what I would say. Like a last-minute Aguero winner, I would absolutely hate every single breathing minute of that moment. But I think with football, well, then actually, what the one thing I would say about that, Andrew, if that happened, is football ever going to be as interesting again, though? Like, if something like that happened, like, how would you top that, man?
I feel like someone brought that up on a podcast of like, if Sergio Aguero scores a last-minute winner to win us the Champions League, you just quit football and you're like, I don't care anymore.
I don't think I would quit football at that point, because I don't think that I would actually see that Aguero goal go in, because if things were like that, I would be on a walk somewhere like 2 miles away, maybe trying to listen somewhere, but I'm not sure I could be in the room with that a game that's that close at that point.
We're all going to be there, start looking from behind our fingers, let's be honest, if it gets to that moment. But should it get to that moment, I guess, because City are very good these days. I mean, obviously, a Chelsea are a very good side, and there's no guarantees of anything. But it's weird going into one of the biggest games, well, possibly the biggest game in the club's modern history, at very least, saying we're favourites. And I don't think that's the stretch. We clearly are favourites. Doesn't mean we're going to do it, but should we be this? Should we be nervous, Andrew? I mean, and what I mean by that, I guess, is sense like, should we feel a little bit more confident? Because we are the favourites by every sense of the word, really.
Yeah, I mean, so I have been someone that is more confident in this City team than I think a lot of people were. I don't know that my confidence totally bled over to the Champions League, at least early on. I mean, I was someone saying like City are going to win the league this season in December. I don't think that was my thought necessarily on Champions League, but in my head, this was maybe our best chance to do it the first time because of where everyone else was. However, I also said when
Joe's is not happy with that, man. But
that's true.
Yeah, but own it, mate. Own it.
Yeah, but the one other thing I said when the draw came down was I wanted to avoid Chelsea on our side of the knockouts, because once Tuchel took over, I said they're the team most well suited to compete with us, to nullify what we do well. Tuchel scares me. Chelsea has a lot of talent. So are we the favorites? Yes. Should we be confident if City plays their best game? Yes. But this is not the level of confidence I had when we played Dortmund or PSG.
How do you feel, John? Because, like, what I will say, I'm going to add this little caveat. I mean, I felt exactly the same way Andrew did about a month ago. I would say Chelsea's recent form has given me a little bit of a boost personally, because they haven't been particularly great recently. They're still very good, John, but it's a consideration, isn't it? It
is a consideration, but I think I'm nervous because we're favourites. I think if you're going into this and I was less nervous playing Dortmund and PSG because they were kind of unknown, and over 2 legs I was confident that City could do a job, but I was also like, both of these teams have players that can hurt us. We don't play them very often, and that's kind of the beauty of European football. I really dislike playing English teams in the Champions League, just because it doesn't feel as special, because it's not it's not from another country, and so I would have preferred Real Madrid in the final, not just because of the way that they're playing at the moment, but because playing Real Madrid in the Champions League final, like that's prestige, isn't it? But I don't know. I'm getting more and more nervous because we seem to be more and more favoured. That being said, the way that we played against Everton on Sunday, and it was a very poor Everton side, don't get me wrong. The way that we played against Everton was really encouraging in terms of the way that we attacked and the speed that we were kind of putting into our play.
It felt like the big boys had arrived, didn't it? After a couple of weeks, someone said it to me on the fan view videos I made. I think it was Anthony actually. Anthony's watching. He said it felt like the Brighton Newcastle game, like pre-season friendlies, and then we got to the important one, which is usually the Community Shield for City these days. If we're being honest, where you take it a bit more seriously, you play, you see, and then they turn up and you play better. And it felt very much like the big boys had arrived, and there was none of that stuff. And City were very, very good. I was going to read a couple of comments out of that. That's all right. Big Johnny's just said, big love to Big Johnny for the super chat. Says, I'm still baffled that we are in the Champions League final. I still see us as a mid-table club growing up in 2004 to 11. This is seeing us in this is mad. You're right, mate. Firstly, you're awesome. Thanks, Johnny. But you're right. And sometimes I guess we do need to pinch ourselves because look where we are, man. Look where we are. It's absolutely crazy that this is the consideration that we're sat here now. Me, John, and Andrew going like, "Oh, are we confident about the Champions League final? After winning the Carabao, after winning the Premier League, when are we going to? When are we going to be confident? Like, is that part of us, John? Like, are we ever going to be confident as Man City fans? Is it indelibly ingrained into our conscience now?
Yeah, I mean, City's ability to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, I think, is just part of the DNA of many, many generations of City fans, and. We talked about Andrew being overconfident as well. But Andrew came to be a City fan actually pretty early on, like 2006, wasn't it?
Yep.
With Marcus Beasley. But there is some kind of a little bit of objectivity there as well, which is really nice for American fans to have, I think, in terms of like they don't have the I'm kind of glad. Well, not anymore because we're really good, but that experience of having to go to school, for example, on a Monday morning during, what it was like, Steve, during the...
Yeah, we're the same age, roughly, I think. I'm a couple of years older than you, based off 87 username, but yeah, I'm 85, but you're only the school year below me, possibly, and it was... Whereabouts were you from, John?
I'm from Staley Bridge, but I went to school in Oldham.
Okay, yeah, so you're around Manchester, so you know exactly what it's like, don't you, the playground?
Yeah.
It was not nice.
No.
The thing is that even though I'm not as generationally traumatized as people who grew up with family members who can tell them stories. But even I, as confident as I am, I'm still the person who will admit, but City 100% can just ignore all of their advantages and pull a Lyon or pull a Liverpool too many times over the last couple of seasons. And then you're just like, we should have done better there, but that is kind of what we have been. We haven't always done what we should. And I'm hoping that just getting to the final will kind of remove some of that off of City's back and make them realize kind of who they are as a club. And I hope the club kind of loses that idea or feeling, but I hope the fans never do, because I think that one of the nice things about City fans is that we don't expect everything to go our way, which makes us less entitled. When good things happen. And it also means that we're way less unbearable when bad things happen.
I just saw Blue Maniac in the comments saying, if you win on Saturday, typical City dies for him. I don't want it to die. I generally don't want it to die personally. I like it, and I do think it makes us different. I know every fan base thinks they're different. But City genuinely are. When you look at Arsenal, Liverpool, Spurs, United, Chelsea, they haven't been down there, and that is always going to be part of who we are. And we'll always have Dickov and people like that and Goto around the club, because they are just as much a part of our history as Sergio Aguero is and all that kind of stuff. And they are. And I like that personally, and I wouldn't want to lose that, because it is little old City, and it is kind of silly and humble, but it's nice, man. It's nice. And to be honest, I'm with John as well. It's great having the objectivity, I guess, from some of the people who come there a little bit later to Man City. But I know it's no less loved. I mean, I know that. I can sense it. I'm so lucky as well to have so many people across the Atlantic who watch my videos, and I chat to them all the time. People like Andrew, like Scott or Jerry, who are on my live streams, or whatever, who are fucking they literally their week or month is made by a good Man City result, So I know that passion is the exact same way, but it is good because there's an optimism that I don't really see in a lot of local City fans, and I like it, man, because it comes from a different place, and I think it's American attitude then as well. Like, and I admire it massively. Andrew, Everton, they bowed down for us. They were pretty poor the other day, but City were good. They really were. Have we seen basically a glimpse of the lineup now? Because, I mean, there's only an emotional question really with Sergio, but even then I feel that's a bit of a push. And we were only really what many people would say would be Bernardo and Gundogan away from our strongest team. Do you see it that way, or should it be that way? What's your call?
I don't see how you can possibly not go with the hand that has gotten you to where you're at. I think you play that, false nine, play all the midfielders line up against Chelsea. You control the ball, you choke them out. And if you need a goal, thankfully, it seems like all of the guys that you might turn to, and Sterling, Jesus, Torres, and Aguero are kind of firing again. I mean, Sterling didn't get a goal, but he played a lot better. Jesus looked absolutely freed against Everton. Torres, that performance against Newcastle was just crazy. And then Aguero, I mean, the script writers did a madness on Sunday with how he showed up. So, I think that is the lineup you go with, but City have several game changers on the bench that they can go to.
It's a good place to be, isn't it, John? I mean, we have got, 2 weeks ago, no one was saying that about, Sterling and whatever. And now they've all had good games, and a couple of them will feel disappointed not to start as well. I fucking hate Sergio for giving us his hope, by the way. I love him for it, but I also hate him for it. Like, it's a little bit like, why did you have to be so good? Because it makes it hard. You kind of want him to go, played quite well, and everyone clapping him off. But anyway, John, do you share those same views as Andrew?
Yeah, I think you can't. Based on the amount of competitive games that we've really had to play in since the PSG game, I just don't think that you can justify bringing anybody else in to replace anyone in that lineup. The home game against PSG was so well managed from a City point of view. It is so controlled, and I think you've just got to trust that lineup. If you need a goal, we were talking about this on Maine Road Ramble on Monday night. My whole thing, all right, is that Sergio Aguero is the best goal scorer we have on the bench, all right? And if we need a goal or two, you bring him on at the hour mark. I know it's early for him, but bring him on at the hour mark. He scores a goal. And then if it's one you need, he scores one. If it's two you need, he scores two. And then you take him off again and bring Jesus on to press it out.
The double sub. You're wild, man.
I wouldn't put it past Pep, but you don't. I don't know. I just think if you still need that goal.
You've been spending too many times around American sports, man. You've got your special teams thing going on there, haven't you?
Yeah, but there's 5 subs. I don't know. Pep's going to do something. I'm sure he's going to do something, yeah. But it's not going to be starting lineup based. But I can see him doing something crazy like that, bringing Aguero on either to completely finish the game out, or to get us back in it, and then taking him off again so that we can get our press back on. Because I don't think he could do an hour if it includes extra time. Which if it goes to extra time and penalties, then I'll have walked a long way, I think.
I really, really hope that the club is doing something like they did with the Vinny Kompany documentary around this week.
There will be.
I would love to see stuff, and particularly I want to see Pep prepping for this week, because that man has to be doing nothing but watching film after film. I'm sure Tuchel's doing the same thing across town, because they're kind of cut from the same cloth. They're just absolute tactical weirdos. But I imagine there's just lots of coffee and cigarettes as they stare at footage of every match.
Me with the guy like that. All the lines everywhere. It's going to be that. It's either that or, weirdly, I think the exact opposite. Because I've got a feeling he might be go enjoy yourself, go watch some films, go relax massively. He's either going to be that or that. And apparently, to be fair, he did this from a position of immense strength. But apparently, when he won the Barcelona Champions League finals, he said to the players, "Just go relax, do whatever you want, wind down. And like, I guess that comes from having Xavi, Iniesta, Henry, Messi, whatever, at the very peak. I don't know what the team would have been, but I guess back then Pep wasn't quite as stressed about the Champions League as he is now. I think it's fair to say, because it's weird actually. There is expectation on Pep these days to win it. I suppose it never used to be. Super chat here from Nakapish. Thank you so much. I'll put this straight over to you, John. Actually, is there any feasible chance Varane gets into the final? Because we've kind of touched on it already. So I feel like his form in the Champions League has been great, and he's been good. He has good natural finishing ability. John, is that now slightly played down because of Aguero's form the other day as well? I guess is the other way to look at it.
Yeah, I don't think that. I think Varane, in an attacking sense, is going to be he's kind of third choice off the bench, probably on fourth. Sorry, because you're going to
Aguero, Sterling.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. And that's not necessarily in a particular order, but I think you want those senior players to step up. One thing we talked about on Monday again was, if Aguero comes on and he misses a sitter, I don't think that's going to affect his legacy at City. But if Torres comes on and misses a sitter, then I can see that like really affecting his career at City and the way that City fans view him when he has a whole lot more left to go. That people might disagree with me there, but no, I think Aguero has done more than enough for this club, and he is. Yeah, he would be the person that I would want to be coming off the bench if you need a goal.
What's your thoughts on that, Andrew, in particular? I mean, I feel like we're sorry for Varane, because after the Newcastle game, everyone's like, "Oh, has he got a chance in the final?" Then Jesus plays well, then Aguero plays well, and all of a sudden, and if Cancelo hadn't got sent off, Ferran Torres could have had a couple more goals and almost certainly played himself into a little bit more game time. But it shows how quickly football moves, doesn't it? That all of a sudden Varane feels top of the pecking order, down the pecking order. Is that a fair summarization?
So I think if City were to pick up an injury that would leave them to where they needed to start someone in the 9 position, I actually think he might be the most likely to start.
Okay.
Of the remaining 4, because you can't start Aguero. He just doesn't have the legs. And I think Torres has shown more in the 9 than Jesus has. Weirdly, I think if Mahrez were to go out, I think Jesus is more likely to start on the right wing than Varane has been, even though Varane is technically the winger of the two of them.
I can see that as well, actually.
But I think if we're just talking about a substitute, I think he'd be the guy that I would bring on. I don't think he's the guy that Pep's going to bring on.
It's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult. I mean, I hope he doesn't get to that point. I hope it's a comfortable stroll of a game, and it probably could be. He probably. I mean, it's very possible. Maybe even should be
like he did against Everton.
Fucking hell, man!
He was on fire. I don't know what Chelsea can do, because you can't defend that.
He doesn't need more motivation to play against Chelsea, but the couple of weeks off he had, and someone said to me as well, like, has he even been injured? Has he just been like resting? I wouldn't be surprised if he was on things where he could have played if he needed to, but mostly he was just like, just go and rest, get rid of any little bruised ankles you've got or whatever, your muscles are a bit tired, you probably can run, but you just got a bit of lactic acid in there. I reckon he's probably been fine, and you could tell, couldn't you, John, against Everton, that the runner had been rested. I think you visibly could see it in his energy and his body language, personally, and his performance.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that was Kevin's best performance of the season in terms of doing all the things that he does without. He's misplaced a lot of kind of short passes kind of in a lot of games this season, just because he's kind of gone from one small injury to another at times. But yeah. He just seemed to be completely firing on all cylinders on Sunday. And what will be interesting is where he plays in that.
I'm literally about to ask you, because he was in midfield there, wasn't he? And he he had runners ahead of him again, and he once again back to being a quarterback, Kevin, playing passes to everyone. But that's not going to be the case, is it?
I don't know. I can see him playing in that role, and I can see him dropping Bernardo back and putting Gundogan in the false 9, or vice versa, because all 3 of those players have kind of played in that role. And I don't know, I think Pep might be tempted after seeing that performance against Everton to put him more centrally, but
I'm going to guess we see something akin to what we did against United 2 seasons ago in the Carabao, where it's like a 4-2-4, and basically the entire midfield minus the holding midfielder changes. So just everyone kind of moves around the whole time, because I think particularly against a team like Chelsea that's particularly well drilled defensively, that could work quite well, because that's how you get them to lose track of someone. If Kev is dropping back and Bernardo is going out wide, and then Gundo moves forward into the 9, and somebody goes to follow Bernardo, not realizing that Gundogan is creeping up, and then that's the
it's difficult because when I think about the passes he was making, they're often to Sterling at the weekend, because Sterling's got a pace, and that obviously we forget how important it is to have someone be able to get on the end of those balls and make those runs. And whatever anyone says about Sterling, his movement is absolutely insane, man. He will always be off the shoulder of the defender, and he rarely is offside as well, Sterling, because he's like, look at Jesus, for example. He's pretty much always offside, and Sterling knows he's got pace and knows how to use it. So that's one thing I will say about Sterling, whereas Foden doesn't make us runs in the same way, and neither will Mahrez, to be honest. So he's got less he's got less passes to make, I would say. But at the same time, I'm looking at the other midfielders. You probably want Gundogan a little bit deeper, because he's got that metronomic passing, and it'll help with the recycling, the very Xavi-esque kind of role. And then De Bruyne deeper for that. Maybe Bernardo's probably the one who'll play a little bit more false 9, because he's pressing from the front as well would be great alongside Foden potentially. Or either way, there's a lot of options there. I'm sure Pep will get it right. Hopefully, he'll get it right. Sorry, I thought you were going to say something, John. But
I was going to say he's probably going to put Bernardo. Thinking about it, if Kante is fit, which everyone says he's going to be, I think he's probably just going to say to Bernardo, "Sit on him. You just follow him everywhere he goes," and Bernardo will do that all day long, because he's the only person who's got the same engine. Yeah,
that makes sense to me personally. I mean, what do you make of Chelsea, Andrew, in general? What do you make of Chelsea? Because they've obviously got quality players. They are missing their keeper. They've got, a guy who's literally half a foot shorter in goal, that's not enough.
I have faith that Mendy will, I refuse to believe that Mendy won't be back in time.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to let myself get excited about that, because nothing would excite me more than player manager Kepa being in goal.
I'd rather Kepa wasn't in goal, just because, I don't know. It's just one of those kind of storylines that begins to write itself. The redemption from the 2019 Carabao Cup final, and he just kind of turns into prime Buffon against City somehow.
That wouldn't be ideal. But I mean, I think they're a really good team, and Kevin Nelson, who's on Maine Road Ramble with us, we chatted at the beginning of the season. And I said, I think Chelsea are one signing and a better manager away from being Chelsea's real rival, or being City's real rival for the next several years. And then they got their really good manager, and I think they just really need a good defensive signing this summer. And I think they really can push us. So I don't think they're the finished article yet. And that's one of the reasons I think City can be more confident, is that this is a Chelsea team that had a ton of new faces come into it in the offseason, and I don't think they've fully had time to gel. I think Tuchel's done an incredible job getting that team to gel to his tactics as quickly as he has. But I think really next season is where this Chelsea team is going to be a real problem in the Premier League for City. But they absolutely, in a one-match, one-off knockout competition, could absolutely tie us up. They hit the long ball over the top to Werner, and he just latches onto it, because the guy has pace. And as much as people want to make fun of his finishing this season in the Premier League, when he was playing with Leipzig, that man, he scores a lot of goals by just being able to get on the ball and outrun the entire defense. So
he's scored if he gets a chance. We need to make sure that doesn't happen, because that's football, and I feel like football's about stories. I don't know how it does it, but it always finds a way to make stories. It's because people are emotional, and it would not be surprised at all. I hope it doesn't happen. Would not be surprised at all if Werner does have a redemption arc. So we need to make sure that's just not even an option. John, I want to talk about Phil Foden, because he's us out there basically on the pitch at the weekend. And weirdly, I think he's possibly going to be one of the least nervous players on the pitch, because there's ice in his veins. And I don't think it's even that. It's not like he doesn't care. It just comes so easy for him. Mm-hmm. He's a pure footballer in the way that once again, Messi's a pure footballer. I'm not saying he's that level, but some people, they look like they work really hard to be as great as they are. You know, like Ronaldo, for example, he seems to be a victory of determination. And like, you can imagine Ronaldo of a fucking, you know, a Rocky montage, just doing all his fucking, you know, pumped up in it, and he's earned it. And don't get me wrong, Ronaldo's insanely talented as well. But then people go to Messi, he's a freak because it comes natural to him. I feel like Foden's cut from that same cloth where he just like football is just, it's just who he is. Why is it, do you think, that he's taken so well to this competition? Because my personal opinion, he's been our best Champions League player. And he seems to love this competition. I don't know if that's just me oversimplifying it, but it does feel that way, John. Do you share that view?
Yeah, I do. I don't know what it is about the Champions League that Foden means that Foden thrives.
Is it just big football and he loves it? If you know what I mean by that? I don't know.
Potentially. I think that he may be someone who people just kind of constantly underestimate as well. In terms of he doesn't look quick, he doesn't look strong, he doesn't look like he's going to beat you, and then he does. You know, I saw a montage on Twitter yesterday, and the amount of times that defenders got tight to him and like basically think that they've got him, and he just goes past them like they literally weren't there. That happens twice a game, and there's just nothing that they can do about it. His center of gravity, his the way that he goes past people, the only other person at City that I've ever seen do that was Sean Wright-Phillips, in terms of his ability to go past people and at an angle where I would certainly already be on my ass. And like,
even you?
Even me.
Prime, the most prime athlete to ever come out of Oldham.
Even, you know, just the angles that he goes past players at, managing to keep a ridiculous speed and his balance and control of the ball, and know where his teammates are. And I mean, the second goal against PSG in the home leg, for example, you know, it's the build-up between him and De Bruyne on the left-hand side. The pass from De Bruyne is exquisite into him to kind of square it for Mahrez, but his run has to be perfectly timed so that he's like hitting the ball at exactly the right time, and that he has to burn the defender for pace as well. He's just got everything.
This is my biggest praise I can give to Phil right now. Not that it was bigger praise than this, but what I will say is, how many times during the start of the season did you think, Andrew, I wish we started Leroy? You know, like every now and then. I can't remember the last time anyone mentioned Leroy Sané from a City fan's perspective. And that's not because Sané wasn't brilliant, and it's probably an element of we just moved on. But I do think it's because this brilliant young guy who's turned into a brilliant young, pacey, skillful winger, possibly with more nuance to his game, has stepped into Sané's position. I used to see a lot of cries for that early on in the season. You did when City were looking a bit turgid, you know, a little bit slow, and you just don't see him mentioned anymore. And for me, Andrew, that's because of Phil, and because Phil, obviously, there's more meaning to Phil being great than there is Leroy. You know, Leroy is great, don't get me wrong, but I don't feel like he just disappears in the way that Leroy was one incredible game. What the fuck are you doing, man? Like the amount of times you saw the ball roll under his foot and he just like miscontrol it out of play. Like he was like on and off, but he was obviously, you don't really remember those bad games. You remember the good ones, which is great. But Phil, to me, he's obviously not going to end up the same kind of player as Leroy, but he's more consistent. I think he's more consistent. He's getting better, isn't he? Is there any like? Go on, Andrew.
I was going to say the difference between, I think, Sané and Foden a bit is that I think Foden still just sees himself as like the kid from Stockport who's playing for his hometown club, and like he just likes playing football. And I think you could put that guy on the Sunday Rec League pitch or a Champions League final pitch, and he's going to treat it the same way. Like he just likes playing the sport, and it doesn't matter who he's playing with, what he's doing it for, what's on the line. I think Sané bought into his own hype a little bit and like backs himself
on his own face on his own body, which says it all for me. I mean, I'm sure he's a nice guy, but he literally had a tattoo of himself on his back. Yeah. Which is interesting, but you know.
Yeah, but I think he just like it's kind of the same thing with like Ronaldo and Messi. Of like Ronaldo is another guy that clearly backs himself and like has that ego, and he's driven by his own ego. But what that means is when it's not working and he's struggling, I think it can be harder to pick yourself up. Even when Phil Foden is struggling or the team is struggling around him, he will still do everything he can to make the other players around him better, which is something that Messi has done for Barcelona for the last several years, of where Barcelona have not looked good, but Messi will will them across the line. And the Liverpool match this season, I mean, Phil Foden just decided, you know what? I'm just taking care of this game for City, and I'm going to destroy Liverpool single-handedly. And he did.
I mean,
Steve, how much?
Surprised?
Yeah,
Go on,
Steve, how much would you have to crowdfund for you to get a tattoo of your own face on your back?
I can be bought. I'm putting it out there.
All right.
I can be bought.
Can't we all be bought?
Fuck it, man. If it's paying for my mortgage, I'm doing it. It's simple as that. I'll just never go on a beach holiday again the rest of my life.
Right.
Or to be fair though, like if I had a quid for every single time someone said, "Oh, you can look like this guy," and it's just a guy with a beard, I'd probably be able to support it anyway. So I could just turn around and go, "Oh yeah, it's clearly I don't know." Whoever the fuck, I can't think of
Nicholas Otamendi?
Yeah.
Nicholas Otamendi. Or fucking Aguero, or Bernardo, or anyone, it could be anyone. Like, I get it all the time. It's like, I get DMs like, oh, this guy looks like you. I'm like, he really doesn't. He's just got a beard and that's it. And I go, Nicholas,
it's a white dude with glasses and a beard. That's not me.
Is that exactly. Yeah, exactly. There we go. It's pretty much all the time. But you give me a feed, John, and we'll see, man. We'll speak. But either way, we're in Champions League final. This is bizarre. The reason I wanted to start doing these videos with you guys as well is because I want to hype myself up for it, because I feel very much in like I don't feel like there yet in my head, and I feel like the more I chat to City fans as well, and the more we talk about it, the more it feels real. And I think it's important that we enjoy this. I know that sounds really obvious, but I think football is too serious these days, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Football, I said this, you were on the podcast earlier as well, Andrew, for the night for 21. Football's ridiculous. It's so stupid. It's a stupid sport. People are ridiculous, and I mean that in a good way. Like, life's fucking hilarious. We sit there and we sing songs to these people. We treat them like gods and all that kind of stuff, because to us they are, and I love that, man. They are actual real life superheroes, and I want to make sure that every City fan doesn't get eaten too much by the nerves and does try and find a way to enjoy these moments, because I said this in a few videos now, this is as good as it gets. It really is. Like, it can't literally get better than winning the league and potentially win the Champions League final. And I guess touching on a point roughly within that, Andrew, like this season's a success, in my opinion, already. And it'll be a success even if we lose the Champions League final. This is my opinion. Am I being a little bit naive there, or is there any truth in that, Andrew?
No, absolutely not. I mean, you kind of alluded to it earlier that Guardiola has this expectation of winning the Champions League put on him. And the only reason that is put on him is because everywhere he goes, domestic football no longer becomes a competition. Like, Pep Guardiola is so good at his job that he just shows up and ruins every competition, besides the one that has so much of an element of luck that he can't just fully dominate it. I mean, like, if you just look at his
baseline is dominance, so he has to be above that. When most people's baseline is there's the lead title, there, they try and get there. His is there already, so he has to go above it, which is just insane, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts. And I mean, I think weirdly, this season being so difficult on a personal and kind of global level for all of us, and I mean, Pep himself, who lost his mother to COVID, I think a lot of people would have walked away from what the challenge that he was facing. Yeah. And it's a lot about him that he didn't. And it also says a lot about him that with how he turned things around, he's clearly never been happier at City. I mean, he gets the club. I know the club was not happy that the video footage of the celebrations leaked. But like that video of him just jamming out to
Oasis. I love it, man. I love it.
Yeah.
And then him crying about Aguero and saying we can't replace him. He understands the club in a way that there are very few other managers in the Premier League who get the clubs that they're in charge of. And the fact that he gets us and he didn't play for City is mental.
Because I don't even think he was crying just because of Aguero. I think he was crying on all the reasons you touched as well. I feel like there's a clip, and I'm so glad I wasn't ripped for this, but I did it during the actual live stream reaction after the PSG game. I got emotional because I was hammered, I'll be honest. But I got emotional because I thought, fuck, I'm going to watch the game with my dad. And like, And I got emotional at the thought of that, and you can't help it because we're all het up and you're full of adrenaline. And Guardiola would have been full of adrenaline as well. But my head straight away went to family, and like you got to bear in mind, Aguero was part of Manchester City's family, and there's no way in the back of his mind he wouldn't have been thinking subconsciously, this has been a fucking shit year, but I'm so happy we're here. And Sergio's going. I've taken him for granted, and he, of course he'll think about his family, of course he'll think about life, and he was crying there because of the realization of everything, in my opinion. Like Sergio's going, and like he's just taking stock emotionally of that moment. But I also think that's why this season has been a success as well. And someone, a comment said, and he said, hey, let's not sugarcoat it. We need the Champions League to complete the journey. We do indeed. But the point I'm making is we are going to get there anyway. And we've gone further on this journey. And if it's not this year, it'll be the year after. I mean that. City winning the Champions League is inevitable. It's going to happen. But I guess the point I'm making is that we've won this season because we've won the Premier League. We've got our mojo back. Guardiola's come back and he's found his confidence. Everyone is happy, you know. And to me, I think this season's been a success because we are back on track and we've also broken the boundaries of so many things that we struggled for. The boundary was never getting to the Champions League final. It was getting over recently. It's been getting over our personal demons in this competition, and we've done that already. And if Chelsea beat us in a final, so be it. But the players aren't going to be scared to get there again. And I think that's why it's kind of important as well that we try and enjoy this moment. Because don't get me wrong, I'm sure everyone will be kicking off and be fuming if we lose. But it will be worth bearing in mind that, you know, that's life. And
even without a Champions League final, this is already a dynasty, a second dynasty, basically, by City. And it's either, I mean, you could argue it's a continuation of one because 5 Premier League titles since 2011 and 12. But look at the core of this team. They're not going anywhere for several years. And if Pep signs another extension, which, like, I don't think it's crazy to think about because where else is he going to go? Because he's not going to have anywhere near the treatment and the squad and the ability to do what he wants the way he is at City. And let's say they pick up a certain striker, either one that is being bandied about. I mean, I don't know that anyone touches this team for the next couple of years. And like, this is not just completing the journey. In a way, I mean, if we win the Champions League, it completes the journey from City's owners and management perspective. It's also, I think, the start of a new journey, of a new core of City players that could grow to be the next Aguero, the next Kompany, the next David Silva, the next Fernandinho.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, I agree with that. Do you have anything to add to that, John? Sorry, I thought.
Yeah, well, just in terms of the Champions League being the end of the journey, I don't fully agree with that, just because I think the Champions League it's a competition that is never the same, isn't required of you kind of year in, year out. And so the year Liverpool won the Champions League 2018-19, they lost 4 times more games in the Champions League than they did in the Premier League. And they won the Champions League and came second in the Premier League that season. And so, you know, City haven't lost a single game in the Champions League this year and could potentially still lose the final. And that could be the one game that they lose. And that's football. But the margin for error, Liverpool in that season, they lost 3 of their 6 group games and still made it to the last 16. And, you know, with the 2 legs of the quarters and the semis and the last 16, there is more margin for error. You can have a bad leg and then recover it at home, as Liverpool did, and that was a fantastic victory against Barcelona. Don't get me wrong, but in terms of what the, you know, if City do win the Champions League and if you know we go unbeaten in the Champions League all season as well, I mean, that's a ridiculous achievement in and of itself, because I mean, even winning, even not losing a game to this point is a fantastic achievement. So I think that this season definitely already is a success, because the league should always be the priority. Being best in your country, for me, is more than enough. And as a City fan who was endured what you and I endured in the playground, as you were saying earlier, Steve, like the idea that we'd be champions once in my lifetime was never even on within my realm of possibility, let alone 5 times before I was 35. So I'm happy.
Done it. The thing is for me is like, and I actually agree with what you're saying, John. Like, I am glad if we do win it this year. Fingers crossed. We've done it as we won the Premier League, because I don't like it when you can't say it, because winning the Champions League doesn't mean you're the best team in Europe. It doesn't. It means you are the. You can say that, possibly, but you can say that with your chest out if you've won the domestic league as well. And I like the idea of City being able to say that and go, no, we are the best team in all the land and all the world. I like being able to say that with conviction. We won the Carabao, we won the Premier League, we would potentially hope. I like being able to say that, and to me that would matter. And and last year if we'd won it, were we really the best team? Last year, we just weren't. We knew we weren't last year. We were pretty poor at stages. And what I will say, by the way, finally, is on that point about the Champions League, is like it's noble for me that if we win it this season, no one's going to be particularly arsed if we don't win it for another 2-3 years after that. Whereas every single year you'd be disappointed if we didn't win the Premier League, which I think is telling, because I feel like you always want to win the Premier League. Mm-hmm. We want to win it for the first time, but I guarantee everyone's pretty relaxed after that. Once we've won it, we've won it. Then we'll win it. Eventually, we'll get the itch again. But if we didn't win it for 2 years after that, no one's going to be particularly bothered. We'll be like, meh, we kind of had our, we had our taste of it. It's great, and we'll win it again. But you're always upset when we don't win the league, and that to me is really telling, because I think Guardiola's right. Your bread and butter always has to be the domestic campaign, because it's where you earn your respect, is what I would say.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's domestically is where you kind of earn your respect. But also, and to Andrew's point earlier about, City fans not feeling entitled. When we don't win the league next, whenever that is, it's not going to be like, oh, we deserved it, we should be winning these things. It's like, no, it's a privilege to win the league. And I don't ever want to lose that sense of like joy that we did it, and like the sense of achievement, because once it becomes, oh, we should be doing it, and if we don't, then it's a failure, then that's not the attitude I ever want to have watching City play football.
Look, are you telling me, like, Andrew, and not like you're saying this, but it's rhetorical, but you're telling me that this season doesn't feel better because the struggles of last season and the start of the season? Of course it does. Like this league feels better because we were shy. I know it's painful, but you don't know happiness if you don't know sadness. And that's a really, like, that should be on your mum's wall or something in a bathroom or whatever. But it's kind of true though, isn't it? Like you have to have that shit to know what good feels like. Otherwise, if you're always happy, like, I don't know, I can't imagine winning the league every single year, always. Eventually that would be like,
I kind of actually want. I'm not saying I don't want to know what that feels like. Like, if we win the next few Premier Leagues,
I'm not complaining. Don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I'm not going to complain. But no, I totally get your point. Of there's definitely a sweetness to this of City reclaiming.
Yes.
In other, for lack of a better word, their title. They had to take it off them by Liverpool, and you could tell that upset a lot of guys in the squad, and they were like, no, not this season. Like, we're going to figure this out.
Back in the box, haven't we, basically, this season? And that's what we need to do. Go on, John.
Yeah, for me, what, completing the journey looks like, to use the phraseology of that commenter, is look at this PL2 side that just won. Like, how many of those guys can we get into the first team? Like, that is a central part of the City project, that pipeline from the academy upwards. And City have had a great academy for a really long time, but if we can transform that into something that is, we're cultivating the best talent at that level, and there's a pipeline into the first team that is, that we're not spending hundreds of millions every summer to try or every other summer to bolster areas that we need to bolster, because we have talent stepping up from the younger areas, then for me, that's the next barometer for success.
I agree. Like, doing it like that's the dream of any team, isn't it? Having a bunch of fans or academy players come through and then winning it all. Like United, unfortunately, have experienced that. La Masia is famous for a reason, and these things become famous. And I mean, for now, I'll take it with our ridiculously expensive squad. But eventually, I mean, that's what probably will make it sweeter. By the way, I'm probably glad we're going to do it. If we do it now than 2 years ago, because Foden wasn't a part of that now, and it will feel nicer for me and for lots of people, knowing that one person in that dressing room totally, utterly gets it in the way that we do. John, Andrew, we come to the bit that everyone fucking hates, but we're going for. It never means anything, but I just like seeing people squirm. It's fun. Andrew, what's your predictions for the final? And you can, to be honest, that's a broader. It can be score, it can be moments, it can be whatever you want. How is this final going to go down?
I think it's going to be like a nervy first 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then a moment of individual brilliance by Phil Foden and Kevin De Bruyne. They're going to get a goal. And then they're going to kind of retreat a little bit. Chelsea's going to come out a little bit more. And then City are going to, pass. It's in the net again. 2-0. Aguero gets his goal in the second half for 3-0.
I fucking love it, Andrew. I hope you're all right. That's a dream day. It's a dream day. You got to tell me, this is going to take a penalty next to score. John?
I think it's going to be tighter scoreline than that. But I agree that Foden is going to score. And I think I'm in my head.
Celebration, by the way.
Yeah,
he's gonna like grab Pep and just like shake him when that goal
hurt him unintentionally. Yeah,
I'm just seeing in my mind's eye, like Foden just replicates that Kincladze Southampton goal in '96. just winds his way, leaves N'Golo Kante on his arse. Thiago Silva's like gone through the washing machine, and he just dinks it over Mendy and runs away, just saying, "Come on then." And Pep actually runs the length of the pitch to him.
What? Does the Weaver celebration as well? Come on.
Well, no, because I think didn't Kinky do that when he was running away?
No. I always figured that one as Weaver. Yeah, penalty save. Yeah, was like, come on.
That's true. That too. But then Pep will run the length of the pitch to him rather than the other way around. He'll just repay.
Well, that's it. He'll go full on Bert and he'll do an amalgamation of all City's famous celebrations. He'll do a combination of the Kincladze, Weaver, Aguero, everything at once. We
can leave the Stephen Highland one at home, though, I think.
Oh, yeah. Phil Foden, thankfully, isn't Superman in this instance. He is in many other ways. Guys, thank you for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. Don't forget, anyone watching this, go check out Maine Road Ramble. There's a link in the description below, and go and follow these two guys on Twitter. You can see their ats conveniently placed right there. Good. Go and give them a follow. They're absolutely awesome, both top blokes, and they do City proud over at the Maine Road Ramble. It's a bunch of wonderful, wonderful Manchester City fans. This is the Champions League final week. I can't believe we're sat here talking about this. If you enjoyed this video, of course, make sure to give it a like, and I'll be back. I've got loads more coming up. I've got a schedule. Who have I got next? These guys today, at the Thursday, I'm chatting to Noisy Pod tomorrow as well, I think, and then I've got Joe Butterfield coming up on Thursday. Then going for the double header on Friday, a Blue Moon podcast and City Extra, and Saturday, me and Ace are going to have our usual pre-Champions League chat, I think. So there's loads and loads coming up, but these guys have kicked it off in the most wonderful of fashions. John, thank you so much for coming on, man.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure too. And likewise, Andrew, thank you so much, mate. It's been good to chat to you both.
Cheers, sir.
Guys, in a bit, like, comment, subscribe, go and follow Maine Road Ramble and John and Andrew. For now, though,
hit that bell for notifications so you know whenever.
That's the one. Yeah, there we go. So there you go. Do what John said. Like, comment, subscribe, all the usual stuff, as you know it all by now. For now, though, guys, have a wonderful day. Come on, City. This really is.